Now, mobile homes allow for people to have to own a brand new mobile home that's 1,600 square foot, 3 bedroom, 2 bath for about $380,000, and their payment goes from, if they're coming from renting to owning one of these, would go from 3,000 to 3,800 a month, including the space rent and the mortgage. But that allows them to get a step ahead and get perks of home ownership. One myth that we always get too is that they always depreciate. But through the years, if you actually look at the data, they've appreciated just at the similar rate as single family homes have.
Welcome to the Uncensored Real Estate Podcast, where nothing is off limits. If you're interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and you want to learn some of the insider secrets and uncensored truths from the true professionals in and around real estate, you've come to the right place. Now, let's buckle up for the uncensored truth about real estate and join your host, Brian Cardenas.
All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Uncensored Real Estate Podcast, where nothing is off limits. And I'd love to remind you, if you guys are catching us on YouTube, to please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you get notified when we drop the next episode. And if you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, please give us a 5-star rating. We would love and appreciate that. And share the episode out with anybody that you think can benefit from the information we're going to share today. And just wanted to welcome on our special guest here, Franco Perez. He is with Franco Mobile Homes and Keller Williams Silicon City. Franco, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
And we were lucky to catch him. He's catching a flight here, so he's doing us a big solid by jumping on before he's running out of town. So thanks for that.
Well, it's an honor to be here and to be able to speak what we do. So I appreciate what you're doing with this show and how you're spreading energy that way.
Yeah, we'd love to just kind of educate people on stuff that they don't typically hear about. And I think you've got a niche that a lot of people probably don't understand about. And so before we jump into that part of things, I'd love to just kind of get a little background from you. Kind of where did you start from and how did you end up doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I guess if where I started from, I actually moved here from the Philippines at a very young age as an immigrant family and had my mom and dad, my younger sister. In 2008, we had an unfortunate situation. My dad was the only breadwinner of the family. They divorced. He fled the country, left me, my mom, and my younger sister to survive on our own. I was 17 at the time, so I had to quit school. I had to start working full time at a very young age, and it was one of the hardest and darkest moments of my life, to be honest. And I say that because I remember. So I remember how painful it was just trying to make ends meet at the end of every month to pay rent and just to consistently try to save up. I had to borrow money. I had to work overtime. I had to do anything I could just to get enough to pay for rent so that we could survive. And I remember reflecting, like, why is it so difficult? I feel like I'm a good person. I feel like our family are good people, but how come other people are able to be more relaxed and not have to stress about things like this, right? And long story short, got into real estate, did that for a while, became an agent, did really good in that. But then I really disliked being a real estate agent in that whole industry because it's an industry where you're kind of trained to help the richest people you can help find the most expensive homes that you can. And that just wasn't me. I wanted to find something that I can help make a difference for people that were in those shoes that I was in when I was trying to make ends meet. And I wanted to do whatever it took to kind of help someone in those shoes, because I know there's still people in those shoes today that are struggling with just keeping up. I did a little bit of affordable housing with the government and that sort of thing, and didn't like that route. And then I came across mobile homes and come to find out that it's such a perfect place for people to get that stepping stone out of the rental rat race and start their journey towards home ownership. Because, like, in a lot of areas, you're either renting for X amount or it's a huge leap to buy a single family home, and there's nothing in between. And then I learned to find out that mobile homes have a lot of false bad myths about it. And it's a perfect place for people to be able to attain a lot of those perks of home ownership at an entry level and then get themselves ahead. So I know that was a long part of it, but hopefully that answered the question.
No, that's good, because I think it's important, when consumers are out looking for people to guide them through this process, especially when it's the first time that they've done it. I always tell people, like, you got to trust your gut. There's certain things that you can look up in terms of how long has a person been an agent or a lender, how many transactions have they done, all that kind of stuff. But at the core of it, you need a Sherpa. You need somebody that's going to guide you and hold your hand and walk you through the process, and you have to feel like their interests are aligned with yours. And
Absolutely.
if their interest is in, like you said, the most expensive place to the richest person and the highest commission, that's probably not, the person for most people. They want somebody who's actually going to care about them and care about how this is going to impact their life and their family. So I think I commend you from, what you had to deal with so young, and coming to the point where you're at today. And my question to kind of start out with is, you've gone this route down, helping with affordable housing and mobile homes specifically, but you kind of mentioned that there is a stigma attached to that. Talk
Oh, yeah.
about some of those stigmas that you hear about all the time, and why they're just not true all the time.
Oh, totally. So I guess the big thing is it's all contextual, right? Because all that we believe is what we see. And the way that Hollywood and Netflix and movies make mobile home parks look is these are the poorest of poor. It's like drug dealers. It's pure poverty. It's the hood. And this is the stigma that the media plays this out to be, right? But the truth of it is, there's a lot of these mobile home parks in very nice areas and that sort of thing, but it's very similar to like apartment complexes and even single family homes. There are bad quality apartments in areas you don't want your kids running around. There's bad neighborhoods of single family homes you don't want your kids going around, but there's also beautiful apartments, and there's beautiful community and there's beautiful mobile home parks too, right? So it's something to really look into, because nobody has an excuse to go into a mobile home park unless they know someone there or anything like that. You really don't have any contextual sight or vision of what these parks look like until you've been there. And that's why a lot of what we do and what's gotten us to break that stigma is through video, is because people are always shocked at how beautiful we can build these homes, how beautiful these communities look. And we really have to fight those stigmas through pictures and video. But it's an amazing lifestyle how these communities actually look in real life. There's senior communities or family communities. It's such a safe, beautiful, full place with amenities like gyms, saunas, spas, swimming pools, and it's just amazing how they could be.
Yeah, and there's a whole wide spectrum of the type of property and the price range too. I mean, literally, I'm doing one right now for a guy who's buying a house. It's got acreage. It's in the $400,000, $400,000 to $500,000 price range. And I haven't even looked at the pictures yet. The agent keeps telling me, he goes, "You drive by this house, it looks exactly like a stick-built house. You walk inside of it, it's like a luxury home. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. You would not even know that it's a mobile home or manufactured home."
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish. So, from what we've been doing as our company is converting a lot of these old trailer-like homes and converting them to how beautiful can we make these homes look? We use the same material that new homes are being built with today. We use drywall, 2x4 exterior, fiber cement, fiber cement walls, and quartz waterfall countertops. There's so much that can be done with this, and there's so many pros to it as well. It's very eco-friendly. We're helping lower the cost of construction when construction's at an all-time high, and we have skilled labor at an all-time low, but we're able to produce more homes with less people. And these are problems that we're definitely going to be facing in this future. And it's just a matter of time that people are going to realize the value of mobile homes and how they're built and the quality of them. And we're just starting to see it in the next few years, how important this is and how much build quality and how aesthetically beautiful these things are.
Now, I want to talk about your business model a little bit, but before I jump into that, I want to talk about what the market looks like right now and why this is such an important segment that people need to open their minds up to. Because what we've all experienced over the last couple of years was this huge supply shortage of homes in the market. And when we had the, I'll call them artificially low interest rates that were there during the COVID period of 2020 and 2021, there was just a frenzy. People were buying up everything. They were overspending. They were buying expensive homes because their payment was so low. And then in last year, the market started to shift. We saw interest rates go up at the end of the year, and they're still elevated now. They should be coming down, but that slowed activity quite a bit. But we started to see supply of homes tick up a little bit around the third quarter, but now supply of homes has started to go back down over the last few months. We have, as interest rates go down further, which we anticipate that happening, we are not going to have more supply of homes coming on the market because builders building stick-built homes, they can't keep up with the current level of demand. So we're going to be in a situation where there's more demand because interest rates go down, no more supply of homes, other than a solution like what you've got. Manufactured homes, they can be built faster. They can be built more affordably, which with higher interest rates, affordability is an issue. I mean, this is something that people need to start paying attention, if for nothing else other than market conditions and housing affordability, right?
Absolutely. And you touched on so many things, and I can talk about this for hours. but but one of the big things really is the constructional, the process issues, right? So if we think about it, cars were only meant for the wealthy because we can only build one at a time before. It was only until they were able to move it to an assembly line that they were able to keep the cost very low and allow for that to be affordable by the masses, by the public, by the general working class people, right? And that's exactly the problem we're having now. We're having a huge population growth with a problem that we cannot build housing fast enough in many different areas that are growing fast. Now, with that, construction and materials are going up. Also, the issue is a lot of our skilled workforce, they're construction workers with the hammers and the skills, they are older generations, 55 and over, that are, unfortunately, this is their time to retire and relax. And we don't have enough younger millennials or Gen Zs that are excited about working with a hammer and working hard labor for 40 hours a week. They're not excited about that. So in the near future, we're going to run out of ways to build these homes. So it's important we up that process element of it. So that's what we're doing now, is we're changing the way construction is done and how it's seen, and building these in factories in an assembly line formation. And if you see on our YouTube channel, I love talking about this because we're able to really pump out several floors of homes in a day. And we're saving so much on materials, we're lowering the waste, and we're completing a lot of efficient, high quality homes at a fast rate. And there's so much to be said about it. I actually have a scheduled meeting with Boxable that's also kind of doing a similar thing. But the better we build our processes around this, the more we can build homes. But we are not doing it at the rate that it should be. Another element is really the efficiencies of having the skilled labor there. For example, HVAC people are consistently working on HVAC. The electricians always have their tools at their section and they're able to build back and forth. Whereas traditional stick-built homes, we have to migrate material back and forth, migrate people back and forth. And it gets time consuming. It uses a lot of energy to be able to do that. Whereas with mobile homes, we really build out more than 80% of the home itself and then just transport it to the site, which really saves a lot and helps the environment and itself. And it helps a lot with keeping the cost low of the homes as well. You talked about interest rates as well. One thing to be mentioned on that is really the cost difference of these homes in these communities. Because, for example, this is going to be contextual to your area, but in San Jose, rent for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment is about $3,000. And then purchasing a single family home is about $1.5 million. Whereas there's nothing really in between. Now, mobile homes allow for people to have, to own a brand new mobile home that's 1,600 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath for about $380,000. And their payment goes from, if they're coming from renting to owning one of these, would go from $3,000 to $3,800 a month, including the space rent and the mortgage. But that allows them to get a step ahead and get perks of home ownership. One myth that we always get too is that they always depreciate. But through the years, if you actually look at the data, they've appreciated just at the similar rate as single family homes have. But the main thing is there's a stepping stone that allows these teachers, these construction workers, the waiters, this is now an attainable asset that they can start their homeowner journey. Whereas before, all they can really do is, all these agents have been telling them, I'm sorry, ma'am or sir, you don't make enough. You don't have enough down payment. Maybe next year you can buy a single family home. And that's the advice they're given. And while that's happening, these prices are moving up, and that target's moving, and their income isn't going at that high of a speed as well. And, for me, coming from that middle class or coming from that low income family, those are the people I want to help and protect their freedom to be able to have financial freedom and opportunity. So
talk a little bit about the differences between owning a mobile home that sits in a park where you've got space rent, like you talked about, versus mobile home that's on your land, permanently affixed to the foundation, treated as real estate, because there's a difference in the financing side of that too.
There are big differences. So when it comes with land, it's so the ones in these mobile home parks or these communities, they're called chattel loans. And with these, you are paying a space rent. It's normally a third of the cost of the total payment. They're a specific lending option. It's different than your traditional financing. Whereas mobile home on private property that comes with the land, there are a ton more lending options. One of the pros, though, our focus is really in these parks, because these parks are where we're able to keep the cost low, because a mobile home with a piece of land is still the land itself has a very high ticket price to be able to enter into these areas. Now, what we're finding is in high density cities like Las Vegas, like San Diego, like San Jose, there's a ton of mobile home parks that were built there before in the 1970s for the workers, but now these are still in prime locations, but the quality of the homes are not that great. And that's what our business does, is we take a lot of these old units for these people that are living there or for the park owners, and we'll replace these old 1970s single wides that are about 700 square feet, and then we'll convert it to something beautiful. We call them sexy mobile homes. It's 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And it's really a beautiful, nice living space. And it really makes a huge difference for people and allows for people to stay in these expensive areas and just immediately boost the quality of their homes.
You want to buy a house, but high interest rates have got you down? Take the rate challenge and send us a verifiable loan estimate from another lender, and we'll beat it and pay for your appraisal up to $600. Here at Give Mortgage, being powered by U Mortgage allows us to provide you with unmatched speed and efficiency and the best rates and fees in the market, all while delivering you the concierge level service you deserve. We want you to have an experience getting a mortgage that you'll never forget, and not because you got put through a meat grinder to get it. At Give Mortgage, we give great advice, we give the best rates, and we give back to charity. Visit us at www.give-mortgage.com or call us at 480-331-4684 to schedule a free consultation to see how we can help.
So maybe let's dive in a little bit more to your business model then. Are you building brand new from the factory and going into a brand new park? Are you also going and removing existing ones, replacing? Like, what's the scope of your business model then?
Yeah, so our business really, it started with just doing the traditional brokerage stuff with mobile homes and only focusing on mobile homes themselves. So we do the sales, the listings, and that sort of thing. And then we also work with direct to consumer, the people that are living in these communities. Like I mentioned, with these 1970s homes, they usually need to upgrade their home at some point. And we show them how they can spend X amount on their home and gain more than, for example, they'll spend about 200,000 on replacing their old home to a new one, but their new home value is about 400,000. And we show them how they can do that by replacing their old one to the new one, and how that can get financed, and how they can have a double the size of the home and more equity for what they spend. We also do consulting for park owners. So how do we help park owners? Get a lot of their old homes to new ones as well? So sometimes these park owners will have issues with these old units that are vacant or things like that, and we'll help do it at scale for them to replace their old homes for new ones. And then, yes, I do have friends that we're doing consulting for that are building completely new parks. In Montana, for example, in this industrial area of Nevada, they have this huge, in a lot of places, there's these big companies that are opening up in states and cities that never had big staff there. And the fastest way for us to build housing are through these assembly line homes. And so we are doing consulting with that as well. Like, hey, Franco, we need to build 200 home sites at one location. And that's a project that we're working on now.
Yeah, I think that's critical because like here in Arizona, there's a lot of companies that are either expanding or moving here, building new facilities here. And so the natural thing that people think about is, okay, we got to throw up apartment buildings, and we got to throw up condos and townhouses and single family homes. But the time to build for all that stuff is really long. And so you would be able to step in and build a community of manufactured homes in, I'm going to guess here, what, half the time?
Yeah, exactly. So I think building site built would probably be 12 months or so, like a year. Whereas when we build these in the mobile home parks, it can be as little as 3 months in total, which is amazing. So that's like a quarter, a third of the time in many cases. And a lot of the perks are really there's less regulation on these because they're not technically real estate, but it allows for us to bypass a lot of these permits that are needed in new development and that sort of thing, right? So because it's less regulated, we're able to build housing at a much faster rate. And what's cool about it is, as we're building these homes in the factory, we're also building the foundation on site at the same time. So where normally you have to build on site on the first half of the year, the foundation and you can't start on the rest of the home until the 6 months later, right? Whereas here, we're really able to cut that in half because we've crossed them both at the same time. We can do the foundation while building that home. And then at the end of the home being finished, we just deliver that home on top of that foundation, and we're able to optimize on that time.
That's awesome, because one of the things that I had heard recently, and I don't have the numbers at my fingertips, but I believe there's over $100,000 in regulatory costs per single family residence that a builder wants to put up. Wow. So when you think about, like, how does a builder build an affordable home, it's pretty tough when the red tape just to get started costs that much. Like, how are you going to, offer a house for $150,000 or $200,000 when you're spending $100,000 just, in
just on paperwork?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane. And that's one of the big problems, and we work with government all the time to try to help, eliminate friction when it comes to any form of construction. And that's who I was with this morning is part of Congress. And we're really trying to help keep these homes affordable. And we can't do that with these high costs of just literally paperwork processing. It doesn't make sense to have that much friction, but that could be another podcast.
That'd probably be a really long one. Having all the governmental red tape problems.
Exactly.
So what is a way that somebody can really start to build wealth? Because that's, we always preach when about home ownership is it's a path to wealth building. People that own real estate, typically have 40 times the net worth of somebody that's renting. And so how does owning a mobile home that might be in a park, how does that work to help them grow their wealth through starting out with a mobile home?
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing is really understanding where your finances go, because when I was growing up, I really wasn't people aren't really taught in school what cash flow is, what an
Yeah.
asset is, what net worth is, and these are the biggest things. And you study and look it up every once in a while, but we really don't know what that means. And if you're spending 3,000 a month on rent, if you think about it, doing the math really helps you understand over the course of 5 years, you'll literally have nothing that you'll be able to extract out of that. Now, if you move that same 3,000 a month payment into buying a mobile home, let's say a used one for 300,000 in our area, we've found that people are able to make that same payment, 1,000 on space rent, 2,000 on the mortgage. They get tax benefits, they get equity, they get appreciation. And the difference between those 5 years has been $110,000 that extra versus if they were to keep renting for that same monthly payment. And that's all just a shift in cash flow of where they're spending that money, right? So if you're renting, you're consistently renting, and unfortunately, you'll never see any of that back. And understanding that if you own something, if you own an asset like a mobile home, that at least that's helping move the needle for you to be able to build your net worth. It's something that mortgage payment is going towards something that you own. And we need to learn to understand that. And we need to educate more people how to understand that as well. And with that, a lot of people are really chasing, one day I'm going to buy real estate, one day I'm going to buy a home. But unfortunately, sometimes because it's too far of a way, make that step. And that's where mobile homes really come into play and starting that journey. Because sometimes a lot of us are only focused on career and career only. And that's the only thing that we should focus on. But we really need to understand cash flow. We understand net worth. So, and we make a ton of videos about this too.
Yeah, I think that's something that's important for people to think about, because when you're renting, you're making a mortgage payment in all likelihood. It's just not yours. You're paying
Exactly.
somebody else's mortgage, and you're building no equity. Like you said, not only can you not do the things to the house, whether it's painting or, whatever you might want to do, you can't do that stuff when you're renting. You're not building any equity towards something. And, no matter what it is, I just had a conversation with a client. He's a first time buyer and he's struggling with the same issue. He wants to buy in a certain area, and he's trying to be as realistic as possible. But he said, I've come to the conclusion I'm just going to probably have to settle for something, that I ideally didn't want. I'd like to have a turnkey place to move into. And,
Mhm.
it's unfortunate. It's probably the reality for a lot of people. You have this ideal picturesque version of what, your first home is going to look like. But, you maybe need to reassess things and understand the finances like you're talking about. Take a first step, find something that's actually going to start to build some equity and build some net worth for yourself, because maybe you're there for 2 years, maybe you're there for 5 years, 10 years, whatever that is. At some point, like, real estate's always a good bet, in small windows of time. Yeah, there might be a downtick, but I think it was a stat I saw a couple months ago is out of the last 81 years, I think it was 73 years out of the last 81 years, real estate has gone up in value. So it's a pretty good bet by investing into real estate. And you have to take that first step. And even if it's not where you're going to spend the rest of your life, it's going to help you get to that next step where you might spend the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And that's such a true point. And people make so many sacrifices. I've seen it here. Like people have regrets buying single family homes as well, right? So they'll overspend or they'll buy something in a further out area just to chase that dream of home ownership, and then they'll commute to work. Sometimes you have to think about what are my other options, because instead of that older home in a further area, you might have a new home in a 5 minutes from work, 10 minutes from work, and you don't have to make that much sacrifices. I think if I would say something to people, it's really to say that don't overlook mobile homes, because in our area I have multimillionaires living in these places. I have people working in tech making over 300K a year, and these people are choosing to live here because this is what they feel they want to do, because they have other alternative investments they'd rather spend their money on. And taxes as well on these high ticket homes are expensive and something you can't get as well.
Yeah, and I think the areas all make a big difference because, like you said, if you can get a beautiful house like you guys are building and spend a third of what you would spend on a single family home, that's a lot of extra cash flow, getting back to your point, that you can use to do other things with it. And it might be investing in other mobile homes as rentals. It might be buying a single family home. It might be investing in multifamily homes. It might be putting your money in the stock market or a startup, like whatever it is. You free up that cash flow by being smart with what you're actually spending your money on a monthly basis, and it allows you to be able to do other things with that money.
Totally. Absolutely.
So let me ask you one last thing here before we kind of finish things up. You've had very humble beginnings, and you've attained whatever level of success that is on your measurement scale. If someone was trying to figure out, like, how do I lift myself up from where I'm at right now to get to that next level, what's a good piece of advice that you would give people?
There's so much, and I think one is manage your energy and know what you're passionate about. It's so. There's a book. I'd say the biggest thing is prioritization, actually. So if I come to think about what's helped me make a difference with anything that I wanted to do, we all want to do 100 things. We all want to do 20 different things at the same time. But the hardest thing to do is to find that one thing that we really should be spending our time on that will move the needle to get us to be able to do those other 19 things, right? And we don't talk enough about how we need to focus on only a few things at a time. And prioritization is the biggest thing. And for me, it was really finding, how do we fix this housing issue? And that's what I chose to focus on. Even though I could have done more single family stuff, I could have done commercial real estate and that sort of thing. I really wanted to find something that gave me energy and what brought me to feel like I'm making an impact. Because what we do for work and that's what we spend most of our life doing. And I feel like I'm never tired of working, of meeting people like you, of doing the hard stuff that we have to do, because it's actually something I'm so passionate about.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, because the passion, if you can find that passion, it fuels you for everything else you're trying to do. If you don't have passion for what you're doing, it's easy to get distracted and lose motivation. And so if you focus on those things, or that thing that is what drives you, that makes you passionate, it makes everything else easier to do. And you don't feel like you're working. I'm sure you don't feel like you're working most of the time.
No, I feel like I'm in paradise just helping these people. And I love it. And still to this day, I tear up when I see these people own their first home, because I feel like a lot of people are ignored and not serviced because they don't make enough. But every time I see a closing and I see the impact we make in their eyes, I still tear up today. And it makes me want to do more.
That's fantastic. Well, tell our listeners and our viewers, if they want to learn more about what you're doing and how mobile homes might be able to impact their future, how do they get in touch with you?
You can Google or check our YouTube. It's Franco Mobile Homes, and all our links are on www.franco.tv. And don't be afraid to reach out to us for any questions. We love kind of answering these questions as much as we can.
Well, I appreciate you taking your time out of your schedule to jump on here with us today, Franco.
And thanks for having me. I love what you're doing, and I love it at the channel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate you guys joining us again here on the Uncensored Real Estate Podcast. Make sure that you subscribe and like, and we will look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Take care.
Thanks for joining us, and please remember to go and subscribe, like, share, all that cool stuff to help us grow, and come back to listen to our next episode. Until then, go out and live life uncensored.
Thanks for listening to the Uncensored Real Estate Podcast. Don't forget to help us out and subscribe. Follow and give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. And check us out on YouTube for the full video podcast. If you want more information on any of the topics discussed on today's episode, email us at uncensoredrealestatepodcast@gmail.com or give the Cardenas Mortgage Team a call at 480-331-4684.